Welcome to the Ransomware Battleground, where we dive into the world of cybersecurity and hear firsthand those that are deep in the fight to protect your data and peace of mind. Think your network is secure? Let's check out how secure you really are with this week's chat, Ransomware in the News. I've asked Ritesh Agrawal, CEO of Airgap, to share his thoughts on ransomware from the business leader's perspective. Ransomware is a big business for the hackers and the serious ramifications for organizations to secure their network. Whether it's data, manufacturing, healthcare, and other industries, its impact is much more than just asking for money. I'm your host and moderator, Sia Yasso-Tornrat. Before we get started, I've got to give a shout out to our sponsor, Airgap, the best defense against ransomware. With a Zero Trust isolation platform, Airgap confines ransomware to a single device. Put an end to that threat propagation and protect your infrastructure in minutes, not months. And without further ado, let's get on the Ransomware Battleground. Welcome to the Ransomware Battleground. My name is Sia Yasso-Tornrat, and today we are excited to have Ritesh Agrawal, the CEO and founder of Airgap, join us today. But this is going to be a slightly different conversation. Instead of going deep into finding out the specifics and ins and outs on ransomware, we're going to take it a step light up and talk about ransomware in the news. So, Ritesh, welcome to the Ransomware Battleground.
Thank you, Sia. Nice to be here.
Okay, Ritesh, this is not gonna be a hard quiz for you, but there's a real big impact with ransomware for businesses. There is a lot at stake. And I figured you as a CEO of a cybersecurity company, you might have a vested interest to make sure you understand this fully. And you have some, I'm sure, opinions on this. So talk to me. Why and how did you form Airgap? Real quick, I just want to do one quick history because your background with Juniper led you down this path. What was that moment in time that you said, we're doing this?
Absolutely. And so such a great question to ask, Sia. I've been dying to tell this story to everybody. This was not a moment in time, actually. It was a series of sort of experiences I had. I was managing a very large business at my previous employer in the role, about $300 million in security business revenue. And what I realized was, regardless of the amount of money the customers were investing in security gear, and it's not just Juniper's gear, but even our competitors at the time, which is Palo Alto or Cisco or Checkpoint, the customers were not as safe. And while I used to be happy winning some large deals, I used to also feel a little bit sad somewhere, knowing that I could do a little bit more for the customer. I wish I could make them safer than they were. And then beating the competition was always a challenge. It always is in a competitive environment like security space. And so to answer these two kind of nagging questions in my brain all the time was to find a solution that is a real technical breakthrough. And that's what I was searching for about 5 years until I got inspiration from the mobile telco carriers and how they actually deploy and how elegant the solution is. And then I spent 5 years thinking through how do I import that solution into enterprise. Frustrated as I was, I quit Juniper, spent some time thinking about the solution, came up with a very, very clever and elegant idea. And that was the genesis of Airgap, essentially. I had to quit my job to be able to focus on something like this. And that's what I did.
Very cool. I mean, sometimes it's that inspiration, that mission. And I do believe that if you have that mission as part of your core value, it does propel, your business. So knowing that you go into cybersecurity of all things, which is such to me a hostile, battleground. Let's talk about it. So we have ransomware in the news. It seems like a never-ending fight. So one of the bigger cases, if you will, or attacks was at Maersk, a shipping organization. What can you tell me exactly, what happened there from your perspective, again, as a cybersecurity business owner?
Yeah, look, cybersecurity is obviously very, very important aspect of any organization today. Digitization is on the rise, and as part of digitization, you get cybersecurity as a burden for your organization. It's very important for all organizations to pay attention to the risks that they are facing with this new menace in the industry. Of all of these things, I think ransomware has become the biggest pain. And the reason we are seeing rise of ransomware is, simply speaking, twofold. One is there is a financial motivation for the hackers now. And we all know financial motivation is the best motivation in the world and has been like this for generations and decades and centuries for that matter. And the second thing is this cryptocurrency has provided a perfect anonymity background. So you could be sitting in parts of the world that we don't know or haven't heard about, and you probably find a cryptocurrency exchange that you can exchange money from. So imagine that you are a software developer or a computer literate person sitting in some parts of the world. You could spend a weekend, hack some large organization like you talked about Maersk, and probably make yourself hundreds of thousands, if not millions. And that kind of money is a life changing money in any part of the world, let alone some smaller part of the world. So I can see why somebody would be motivated to do this. Hey, I spend a weekend, I make a life changing amount of money, and I'm all set for my life. I can do this once, I can do this multiple times. I'll never be caught because of the anonymity of the cryptocurrency. Now, in particular, you talk about Maersk as an attack on that shipping organization. It was very interesting, actually. They had to reformat 45,000 PCs. I mean it, 45,000, and it's not a mistake. It's actually true. And about 4,000 servers. I can imagine it couldn't be fun for the IT organization or the security organization to go through the ordeal. For the audience who are listening to this, try imagining formatting 5 devices, let alone 45,000 devices. To make it even more embarrassing, this is going to sound funny to some of you, but of course, those who suffered the pain probably have horror stories to tell you. But in order to stop the propagation of ransomware, the IT team had to announce on the PA system, scream on the PA system, shut down your computer, shut down your computer. And people were running in the lobby telling people to shut down their computer. I don't want to be on the speaking side, as in on the side of the PA where I'm announcing, and definitely don't want to be the other side where I don't know what the hell is going on. People are just screaming, shut down the computer. What's going on?
Yeah, wait, literally shouting on the PA, people manually like, I mean, can you just imagine that visual? People like yanking, you know, the power cord off, thinking they shut it off, for those, end users that don't know exactly how to turn off a computer. I mean, I can't begin to imagine the panic.
Absolutely.
Oh
Imagine the
my gosh.
option that you had. These computers, 45,000 computers, reformatting could take months, if not longer. What does employee do in the meantime? Can your business sustain weeks, if not months long interruption? I suspect many of the business will go bankrupt if they had this kind of interruption.
Oh, absolutely. And Maersk, because they're still in business, and I'm assuming they've recovered from it. So did they end up paying that ransomware
It's going to be hard to.
ransom?
Nobody's going to first of all admit that they have paid the ransom, because it's somewhat of an embarrassing situation. And also, for their sake, I hope they haven't paid the ransomware, because once you pay the ransomware, first of all, you kind of might as well write the target on your back. Uh,
Right.
that people, and second, it's very likely that the bad actors have got access to your enterprise blueprint, so they know all your weaknesses, and there's a small chance that they have left some Easter eggs for them to come back and collect them.
Oh,
This is all real, and I wish I could be gentle about this, and I'm trying to be as gentle as possible. But these are really bad scenarios that customers actually face, and I talk to many of them on a daily basis. And I mean, if I were to tell you stories, I'm sure it'll make for a good reading. We could have a beer session someday, and I'll spend whole day talking about these stories.
sold on that. So let's talk about another story though, because this is something that I think is even be closer and near and dear to your heart, which is
Yeah.
the recent attacks. Sophos got hit. FireEye, or Sophos, they tried to attack Sophos as well as FireEye, and FireEye admitted it. Um, this is really interesting to me because I think maybe just because I'm an outsider looking in, you don't see a lot of attacks directly on the providers. You usually see it on, people who've got money, that's easier, weaker targets. So why do you and how, like, why would you go after, you know, firms like FireEye, Sophos? I mean, all of our, partners in the ecosystem, if you will.
But the answer is very simple, actually, simpler than you think. Just because they can.
Oh, that's painful. That's painful.
But importantly, I think what the point I'm trying to make is ransomware does not discriminate. We've seen attacks on hospitals. In Germany, a couple of patients died because one hospital was impacted with ransomware, and they were trying to move the patients to some different hospital, and on the way, the patients died. We've seen schools, Las Vegas, they stole credentials of students. I mean, these are teenagers, these are not even adults, and they kind of threaten to publish those very important PII information on the internet if the ransomware is not paid. I mean, I have kids, and I'm sure many of our audiences have the kids too, and nobody wants our kids' information to be found in the wild. But look, I think bad actors have, at this moment, seems like no capability or intent to discriminate. They'll go after whichever target makes them money, and it makes all of us vulnerable. I think security companies for sure, like FireEye, Sophos you talked about, and we also take our security very, very seriously. Look, the number of hoops we have to jump to get access to our network is unreal, actually. But we do all of this knowing that we are probably bigger of a target than than an average organization would be, and it's our responsibility to ensure that we protect ourselves in order to be able to protect our customers. And that's, I think, a responsibility for everybody that is managing a digital business, which is practically everyone.
I love it. I love it. So I asked this question of everybody. So I'm really intrigued to hear your answer on this, Ritesh.
Sure.
What keeps you up at night?
Oh boy, if I were to make a list of those things, again, we'll be sitting on a beer session all day long. I'm rarely getting any sleep. Look, as genuine as I can be here, you have to trust me on this. One thing that worries me a lot is how do we protect our customers? And we're doing our best to sort of provide solution to schools and healthcare facilities, and obviously government facilities, as well as private enterprises all over the place. And I keep thinking about various ways the hackers bypass the security measures that are somewhat, I think, not complete today, and how I can make it complete. Look, if the current security solutions were good enough, we wouldn't be talking about ransomware. I'm sure it'll be the most boring topic of the week, or if not of the month. But it is the hottest topic because the current solutions are not enough. And so my focus has been, for a number of years, I would say almost a decade, has been to think about why we are seeing so many cyber threats. Security business is a booming business. There are billions of dollars worth of security software sold every year, and yet every day you hear a couple of news like you just mentioned. Foxconn was another one, and a few others that we heard. This is because I think the current solutions are not sufficient, and I just want to plug the holes, as many of those as I can think about. So that's what keeps me up all night.
So it's almost like you have to build like multiple defense lines of defense. And even within those lines of defense, you have to pivot. So there's no straight arrow, if you will, that could just bulldoze through all those lines of defense. It's almost, you have to make it weave and make it work before you get to the penetration, if you will, of whatever target. So can it be done cost effectively? Can you do it simply? Can we have security like schools? Baltimore County schools got hit. They're not going to have the same IT budget as someone like you would think Foxconn should have, for example, or Maersk, even these multi-billion-dollar businesses. So is it possible to be as safe as possible with that, small IT budget?
You're absolutely right. I think security doesn't have to be expensive. I believe what has happened in the past, and this is my personal belief, I would love to argue with somebody who wants to challenge me on this. But what has happened in the past is we've created layers on top of layers on top of layers, and not looked at the fundamental objections or fundamental flaws that enterprises have. So when we started looking at Airgap, I mean, I started the company, my first thinking was, let me unlearn everything I've learned about security and let me truly think out of the box. Because if you want to stay in the mindset of current security solutions, then you have no choice but to go in the same direction. And clearly that direction is not the right direction. So first thing first, I kind of, for a week or two or a month, I decided to forget everything I've learned about security and start from scratch. And when we did that, it became apparent to me that there are fundamental flaws, and I'm glad that we found a solution against those fundamental flaws. And once you do that, it becomes clear as a day that you need to spend least amount of money to get the most amount of security if you did the right things. And then I will say one more thing. No matter what I say today or tomorrow or a week from now, keep in mind that errors happen, human errors happen. You may deploy our product, which is Airgap. You may deploy our competitor's product. You can deploy any other vendor's product. Human errors may happen, and you may still be impacted with ransomware. Especially sort of cyber attack like menace like ransomware could be very devastating for you. What we have done at Airgap is created a ransomware kill switch. And as the name suggests, it will instantly kill the ransomware. It'll stop propagation of ransomware right then and right there within 1 second, actually. This is like the emergency shut-off wall that you have at every gas station or petrol pump, depending on where the audience are coming from. You walk into that gas station, you see that emergency shut-off wall, it will save lives someday.
Right.
And I think Airgap's ransomware kill switch will save lives someday. You should deploy it, keep it handy. God forbid you get impacted with ransomware. You push the button, the ransomware propagation stops, you do your investigation, you clean the system, you clean the network, you go back to your business. Make sure that you have the least amount of business impact possible. And that's the second part of Airgap. Not only we try to protect ransomware from propagating to begin with,
Right.
but God forbid if an outbreak happens, then we would also provide you protection against that. And that's the key to, I think, building the right solution. And then you don't need to spend a lot of money because you're able to limit the damage to begin with.
Right. I mean, I really like that you mentioned the kill switch, because I couldn't help but think in the back of my mind, which was Maersk really could have used it a couple of years ago. I shouldn't laugh. Sorry, guys.
No, I know. I had a customer who saw the ransomware kill switch, and first reaction was, "Where were you 2 years ago?" I was building the kill switch 2 years ago, I guess.
Because it happened 2 years ago, I was building it, right, as a net result of it. So,
Yeah.
Ritesh, this is such a great conversation with you, and I'm going to take you up on that beer. Although I don't drink beer, I'll figure a glass of wine with you on that. But how can we learn more about Airgap? Where should you recommend everyone go?
Look, we have a website like everybody else. We are a young company, so we haven't disclosed a lot of details on our website. We have not spent $100 million on website. We rather spend $100 million on product development, but it's a nice website. You should check out us at airgap.io, https://airgap.io, airgap.io. We look forward to seeing you there. Feel free to reach out to me. My email is ritesh@airgap.io. I love to hear from customers. If you have objections to what I said, you want to argue with me, I'd love to take you on and listen to your feedback. Perhaps there's something for me to learn from that, and perhaps improve our product as well.
Ooh, I think you threw up a new idea for maybe a quarterly thing where Ransomware Battleground. We battleground it live.
I love that.
Ooh, excellent. Ritesh, thank you so much for your time. And I know we could keep going on and talking about this, but I just thought we would, mention some things, some ransomware attacks in the news. And I thought your perspective would give us a nice different angle than the normal conversations of us going into the weeds a little bit. So thank you for your time, and thank you for your support.
So yeah, it's always a pleasure to speak to you. I look forward to many more such series, and I couldn't wait. Let me know when is the next time, and I'll be there.
Excellent. And so on that note, everyone, I think that will wrap it up for the Ransomware Battleground podcast. We will talk to you soon. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Stay safe.